should do that again.
Started.
All right, great. Well, I guess I'll just kick us off. I'm Naomi from The Profile Company. We write people's LinkedIn profiles for them. That's exclusively what we do, focusing on set entrepreneurs, businesses, sales teams, CEOs, and other people who really want to get their business message out to the world and put their authentic, genuine voice into it. And Daniel, do you want to quickly say who you are?
Yeah, of course. The founder of Jordico, and also created a training program called Linked Revolution, which is a program for business owners to actually help them make LinkedIn work for them, so they don't have to work for LinkedIn. And actually make sure that they have a system in place that helps them generate new business, attract new business opportunities in a way that is very authentic to them, in a way that is very real, in a way that feels natural to them, so it doesn't feel forced. Like most of people, who do cold calling and send sales messages all day long, which is a very forced way of doing business. This is a very authentic way, and that's also what we're going to talk about today, which is all about doing business in a more authentic way, and do that on LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely, because I think that there's different things that you can be doing. I mean, the role now between sales and marketing has really merged, and it's about making sure that we follow up on those marketing messages and get people actually into our sales funnel, which is what I'm actually hearing on the ground from a lot of people I'm speaking to, like big companies. They've got these fantastic social selling campaigns out there, all this content going out and people actually interacting with it, which is the first hurdle, but they're not actually turning it into actual leads and conversations with decision makers. And it's right there is where you get the return on investment of everything else you're doing. So it's really important to be able to make these messages to people where you inbox them and say, hey, I saw you interact with my content, and actually be able to take that into a phone call and then into a decision within the company to buy from you. So I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to reach out and do this with you, Daniel. And I think just to let people know who are listening, the format we want to take today is very much a discussion format where we can just discuss the issues and actually have people join in if they want to. Daniel, you're the person who knows this software, so you can tell people how to join in if they want to.
So we're going to do this pretty open format. We're going to discuss a couple of points, a couple of very important points that we feel. And if you have questions, just jump in. You hit backslash, actually not backslash, just the normal slash and then Q, and then you add your question. And that's how it pops up here as a question. And then we can take that question or you can answer it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's nice to interact and discuss all the different things and questions that people have. So something like just to set this scene, I think, as well, in terms of where different activities sit, I think it'd be really nice to just put out there as well that there are 3 different strategies. There's the proactive, the active, and the passive. Your passive is your LinkedIn profile. It's fixed. It sits out there all the time. You change it when you need to change it, but it's pretty much working for you 24/7. Your active is sharing updates and content, publishing articles, commenting on articles, or commenting in groups. And your proactive is really what Daniel specializes in. It's about sending that email that really packs a punch and gets a person to reply to you. So that's very much where we want to kind of position this today. I know a number of people have commented on the different posts that I've put in different places about the biggest complaints that they've seen on LinkedIn. I noticed that Daniel's disappearing a little bit there, so I'm just going to keep talking. That's what I'm good at. Okay, now I'm the only one here. Excellent. Okay, so the biggest complaints I think that anyone sees on LinkedIn is very much about people sending spammy messages. And what we mean by a spammy message, and Daniel, you're back now, that's good. You might be able to explain a little bit more. It's when someone asks you to connect and they are on their agenda and they want to, once you've connected with them, they send you their message about what they do, what they want to sell and why it's good for them, forgetting to put into it like, well, what's in it for me? Why do I want to do that? Have you done any research on me at all to know whether I want your service or not? The classic one is where they hide in the content about whether you want to do a multi-level marketing business. And so, well, if you read my profile, it'd be absolutely clear to you how passionate I am about what I do, and the answer would be no. So, I mean, what's the worst kind of things that you see, Daniel, around?
Yeah, it's pretty much that. You know, when people just show up and say, "Hey, this is me. This is what I do. This is this is me," and then doing that and sending a one-page sales message and not just a couple of sentences. It's like this is probably the worst way to get started at all, because I mean, I know for myself that, I mean, I get messages like that every week. So I delete all of them. Like I read the first sentence and I realize, okay, there's somebody I have no idea who they are. We've
Yeah.
never even messaged any other time before that. Now they want to sell me something. So I just delete that right away. I mean, why would I engage with somebody like that who's just, who's coming over just as a taker, who's just out there to get something, and there's just like no incentive for me at all. So yeah, that's something I see almost every week.
Yeah, and it's an
What about
interesting
you?
one as well, because I think even if you have a message that perhaps hasn't hit the mark and doesn't motivate the person to get in touch or to ask you about it, you do have a second chance in the profile. People come through to the profile and go, "Sorry, who are you?" And they will look, and it's what you say there. And if you're saying, "I'm a fast, dynamic, creative person that likes to do this and that," the initial reaction that person's going to say is, "So what? What do I care? Like, what's in it for me?" It's a really harsh question, but it's one that everyone's asking all the time. It's like, well, what's in it for me? And that's the first hurdle you have to get over with most people, is putting it into context and saying, this is the problem we solve. This is how we solve it. And really communicating in a genuine, authentic way, where you're not just out there repeating pretty much what's on the website, because the website says, "Hey, this is what it is," but it's really making that connection between, this is who I am as a person, this is the company over here, and this is where I sit in the middle. And people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and feel passionate towards, in terms of, this person likes what they do, they're passionate about it, they've got something new and unique to add. And I think in a busy world today, a lot of us, we're not looking just to buy services. We're looking for somebody who can come in and think on our behalf and bring the very best thinking and technology to what we're doing. And I know with my assistant Grace, when she writes to me and says, "I think that we should do X, Y, Z," I'm like, "Oh, I love you. I love you. Someone's thinking for me." I know she's listening, so she's very laughing. But that's the key thing. It's people, when you come in blind to somebody, whether they've stumbled across your profile or whether you've inboxed them, the person wants to see that you're passionate about what you do, your unique take on it, and what value that will mean and translate to that person in their very busy life, and why they should invite you into that busy life.
Yeah, yeah. On that topic, there's recently I sent out an email to my audience, to my email list, and I asked them, if they would be interested to see a video on the topic of attracting the audience that is already seeking to work with them. Mm-hmm. Because a while ago I got an email from somebody and said, how do I reach the right audience? And I said, what's the right audience? And they said, well, the ones that need me right now. And it's a really interesting thing. You can, because also in that context of reaching out to people on LinkedIn, you can reach out to anyone who's in your target market, or you can actually focus on attracting the people who need what you have right now. People are in a situation where they need you right now. And then you remove all these, other obstacles that are in the way of, like, how do I figure out if somebody needs what I have to offer right now? How do I persuade them that I'm the right person to work with? How do I, persuade them that they have a problem I can help with? And all of this, all these problems that we put up as ourselves when we try to reach those kinds of people. That's just something that I figured out makes, everyone's life so much easier if you focus only on the people directly who already are in that situation where they need what you have to offer and where they need it right now. And that, of course, goes back to the foundation with, like, everything. Everything always goes back to the foundation. And with that, it's having that clear idea about that ideal client avatar, who that is, and in what kind of situation they're in. Like, what is that situation where they need what you have right now? There's a business development consultant I worked with about 2 years ago, and she was having a hard time with attracting the right people, and she's working with perfume companies. She helps them negotiate deals to get into retail stores. And we talked about the situation. What is that for her? And we realized that for her, that specific situation is where a business owner from a perfume company is in a situation where they have set up several meetings with different retail stores, and now they failed at the first meeting, but they have the other ones lined up already. So they need her expertise like now, not tomorrow, but now, and they need her. I mean, really, really need her. So that's just an example of such a situation. Just wanted to bring that in because very often we start at the wrong point of the conversation when it comes to reaching out to people. It's like, okay, how do I make my message so effective that somebody can't say no? Well, maybe we need to ask a different question, go one step back there.
Yeah, and how would you, if you've got a good example to demonstrate that?
What do you mean?
Like go one step further. What kind of question would that be, would you say?
Well, there's basically like one question, like what is that situation, these people need to be in so that they need what you have to offer right now? Because if you know that situation, then you can create content for people about problems in that specific situation. So you can create content and write content and put anything out there in any way or form that talks about the issues people have in that specific situation. And then people who have these issues, they will find them, and only they will find them. So you're already, you're not wasting time with people who you maybe have to persuade or just talk to hours and hours and hours for no result.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key thing as well. Like, it's if somebody knows that they have a problem and they're looking for a solution, it's helping them know that you are the solution. And one of the key things I always say with a LinkedIn profile is if you've got busy people, they're stumbling around, they're in browser mode, they're definitely not there to buy. They're not Googling the solution, because if they wanted a company to solve it, they would go to Google and they probably have already been there. So this is just like another set of time, and they're just doing what they're doing on LinkedIn. But if they can see quickly, oh my gosh, that is my problem, you can solve that for me, that straight away, you put your profile in context, you're now relevant to them. And now the next question that naturally comes up is, well, who are you? What's your credentials and how will you solve it for me? It's that tangibility. It's always following through. Well, what question is it that they would ask next? And then supplying the answer before they've even asked it, to be fair. It's that smooth transition from one thing to another. So yeah, it is about really showing up in that situation and showing and demonstrating that you understand it. Because that's another thing as well. People don't want to buy from people who don't understand their situation or the problem that they're looking to solve.
Tell me a bit more about the profile, because you're the expert in that when it comes to that. Let's dive a bit more into this. Like, I talk to a lot of people, and they, that's one of the things they struggle with, especially when it comes to the summary. Because essentially the summary is, probably one of the most important parts after the headline, because it's like with the headline, people, it's like an article, right? You have the headline, so the headline is like, if that's crappy, nobody's gonna click on it.
Yeah. And
then once people click on the headline, they see your profile. They see one of the first things is your summary. So when it comes to those, let's start with the headline.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So the headline, it could be that someone's just done a search on your name, and actually they weren't looking for you, they're looking for somebody else, and they go, oh, same name, different headline. That's interesting. I want a bit of that, or they're just curious about it. So the objective is really to get people to click through, but it's also 120 characters you've got to really start that context and helping people know the context of the conversation that you're about to have with people. So you want it to be grabbing. I always tend to suggest putting keywords in there along with a sentence. I think I haven't got one at the moment, actually, but keywords in a sentence that sums up what you do, like helping companies to break through the something. That's probably a little jargony, actually. I would keep away from jargon, but trying to make it really, really practical so people go, oh, that's interesting. I want a bit of that. And then bringing that through then into the summary. So there is a structure to a summary, very much so. And it really, I'll pull on what I've just said about setting the context. Let's talk about it visually, actually, to begin with. If you have no paragraphs, that's going to put someone off. If the paragraph is more than 4 to 5 lines, that's going to put someone off. They're not going to sit there and read through that chunk of content. You want it to be paced like a conversation, but you definitely don't want it paced like a sales letter. There's a massive difference between a sales letter, which has all the breaks in it and has all the pacing. It's definitely different to that because no one showed up to get that sales letter. So you want to pace it out, and you want to make sure that you have all the right capital letters and spellings and everything in place. I say that because sometimes people go for a style choice of having everything lowercase and they don't put capital letters at the beginning of things. It doesn't work on LinkedIn, especially if you're listing like things lower down, like your job title or your school. It doesn't translate. It just looks like you don't know good grammar. So visually, you've got to think about it as well. And another visual thing that's really important is where you position the keywords. So I did a profile review for somebody, which is a service I offer to many people, if anyone's interested. I looked at his profile, we were chatting away, and I don't do a thorough read before. I actually just behave like a consumer. I go, da, 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 oh, done. Or da, 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 ooh, da, 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 da. Oh, and so you're constantly getting people doing this and coming in, and I watch how I respond to the profile. And so this particular person, I'm speaking to him, and I say, oh, I see you, so we're chatting away, and I go, and you do sales optimization, sales engine optimization as well. And he says, no, I don't do that. I said, it says it right here. And he goes, yeah, but the word before it is not. And I was like, yes, a thorough read would have got me to the point of saying it says, I not that. But actually what he had done was, instead of just saying SEO, he'd written the whole word out. He'd put capital letters at the beginning of each of those words, and it was the last line of the second paragraph. So of course, my eye goes there. It's a long string of words. I'm not going to see a tiny bit that says not. And I think he thought I should do a thorough job, but I act like a consumer. So that is a proper review. So it is those little things like that, like where does the eye go, what jumps out at you. Those are really key. So let's delve into what you write in the summary. Your first paragraph, 4 to 5 lines, ideally. If there are 2 different styles actually, but mostly you want to set the context of the conversation. So for the individuals, the solo entrepreneurs that I work with, I will actually put the context in straight away. I'll outline the situation that's currently going on and what the problem, what is it that's really going on. For someone in a big organization, the context is slightly different. So I will actually start off as the job title at place, my role is to. And I try and involve in there lots of value statements and passion as to why they're doing the job they're doing. And then comes in the situational paragraph. Because I think that in a big company, that context, like where do you sit in this massive organization? Let's get people quickly to the right person. Let's not just engage them with the wrong person. So the context is really, really important. And I find when I'm writing them, I'm always delving in that bit deeper. Really, is that the problem? Or is it this problem? Like, what is the crux of it that you could actually achieve taking somebody from, I don't know I have a problem and therefore I'm not in the market to look or buy for one, to, oh my goodness, I actually do have a problem. I didn't realize that, straight through to, I need a solution right now. So it could be, for example, a company are experiencing high absenteeism and people are leaving the company and they're just like, well, my problem is I need to recruit. Could they actually learn from your profile that is a symptom of bad leadership and go, oh my gosh, and then get involved into, I need leadership training inside of my company. That's what we're talking about, where someone doesn't diagnose their own problem correctly, to now being able to diagnose it, to now be able to get the right solution, and then back up that you are the right solution. So we've got a situational paragraph, and then you want to kind of say who you are, what you do. So very practical. This is the problem. We do this, this, and this. And again, keep quite short and precise, and then you can layer in some of your beliefs around it. Now, one of the ways we make a really authentic profile is to say, I believe, personally, I think that, in my opinion, Don't be afraid to put that in there, because people are looking for those who will actually speak out and stand behind what they believe. And so one of the other things that's really important from a talent branding point of view and from a company point of view is that you tell people what it is that you do and the values your company lives by without coming straight out and saying it. So we did some profiles for Asda a year or two ago. And, if you looked at their website, normal kind of stuff, our company values are cool, that's what they are. But if you came out and straight out and said that on a LinkedIn profile, someone would go, I don't believe you. And now I actually think you're not very genuine because of the way you're saying that. But actually, what we did was we demonstrated the values of the company through examples of how it manifests. So they're very much into supporting mothers go through the levels of management and making sure that they're well taken care of and they're giving all the advantages they need with their childcare. So, and this came through, like the 10 interviews we did, it came through really clearly. This was a brand message they lived by. And the lady whose profile we really focused on at the beginning of the project was Hayley, and she's in the top of HR, and she runs a thing called Mum Decks. And so we brought out, let's bring that out, the Mum Deck side of it and what that actually is, because it was like, here's a value where we're just saying it, and here's the value showing up in action, and this is what the intention of. It doesn't matter if the project's actually failing, the intention's there, which means if the intention's there, it will eventually. If it was failing, they would just need feedback, so that's okay. People go, well, they want that. It's not happening. Let me help. But people buy into that message. So there's lots of clever ways that you can layer in examples of your values in action, and also demonstrate the benefits of the product and service as well. But the key thing is it's your voice, and it's not about you. It's about the problem that you solve. The only bit that really becomes is about you is your belief about the problem you solve on behalf of the customer, and what your position is and how you can help, especially if you're in a team. You don't want necessarily someone getting in contact with you and it's not your area. The perfect example of this is in recruitment. You find a nice company with a good reputation, you reach out to one recruitment person, they say, oh, that's not my area of specialties, okay, I emailed you and it's not the right thing. And actually people are quite nervous about emailing people and emailing the wrong person. So the more that you can have all the profiles sorted out and say, this is the expertise, this is what I have conversations about, the better. Because you're going to have people more confident to reach out. And that's the end of it. The goal at the end of the day is inbound leads. Because obviously you're putting action in for the proactive, getting the leads to you. But when it's coming in from cold, the goal is to get inbound leads where people approach you. So if you can map out in a call to action in the summary and again in the advice for contacting, the context of a conversation, the context of how you talk to people and interact with people, and maybe even something they can grab hold of and ask for that's simple and easy, they will take it. So for mine, for example, I will actually offer you a 30-minute LinkedIn profile review. So you can reach out and go, actually, I'll take that. Thank you. And then also you've got, maybe I'm not ready for that. Maybe I'm not ready to buy it. Maybe I need more information. So it's having content that says, here you go. So I've got at the moment the 7 questions to determine how effective your LinkedIn profile is. So it's like, well, I think I've got a great profile. Let me go and have a look. It is text heavy at the moment, so I'd love to get to a point where I've got a checklist and people can tick it off. But then that answers the question. They go, yeah, actually, that's pretty bad. I think I better come and speak to you. The question they might ask is, well, how do I work with you? What you do LinkedIn profiles. You say you're an expert LinkedIn profile writer, but what does that mean? So I say it quite blandly. We write profiles for you. No misinterpretation. And then the next question somebody would ask in that buying process was, well, how do you do it? So that has to be built in as well. And the other thing is it can be something that feels like oh gosh, not another thing I've got to do. Yeah, I've got to go sort that out, and I'm not sure if I can cope with this right now. So simple, light and fresh. We take the burden from you. It's a 90-minute interview. Then not much else is actually required on your part. Really important thing. So it's getting into the buying psychology of how somebody buys from, yeah, I have a problem, to how do I actually go ahead with this, and am I ready for the solution in my life? You need to be thinking that through in terms of how you make it easy for them to get in contact with you, but also getting them ready and through that buying decision and thinking, no, I'm not ready for a conversation about that. Or you actually seem really high up in the organization. I don't think I could approach you with my question. Can you answer that question for them on the profile? How, if 60 to 90%, in some cases 100% of buying decisions is now made online, what are the stages that someone goes through making that buying decision? And how can you walk them through it? That a person can walk through a buying decision in 6 months, or they can walk through it in 10 seconds. It's up to you how you meet them in that place. So that's very much the summary that we're really looking at, what we're trying to achieve. The experience is really interesting because that's your credentials. That explains why you're qualified to do what you do today. So you want to be bringing into that the things that you've done and you've achieved. And I mean, you've got different people in the company. You've got some that are admin people, and you've got some who are fee earners, and you've got some in the business development side of it. Lawyers and consultants are the perfect one for fee earners. And it's actually their skills that will sell the company. And if their skills are shown well on the profile, it actually makes the job of the business development person easy. For example, I did profiles for a team of, I think it was 12 consultants up in London, and they help people manage their boardroom and get the best from their boardroom, and reports, annual reports, annual returns, those kind of things. And one of the women had experience on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. She was the only one who had actually done that. So for looking at her profile and making sure we brought that to the top, that was a really key point, because if someone is like building a FTSE 100 company in multiple countries and now they want to go to Hong Kong, they're going to need someone who understands the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So her experience 5 years ago in a job where she lived in Hong Kong, it was actually really, really key that it was there, and that was actually highlighted in her summary, in case someone didn't get that far down. So there's different parts of your team, different experiences and different industry experience and knowledge and expertise they've got. If we can get that really mapped out well, matching everything I've already said, but highlighting it, you have then got somebody who you have to buy from that person because they've got the Hong Kong experience. No one else has got it. But the interesting thing is, your competitor might have someone in their company with a consultant who's got experience in Hong Kong, but they're not saying it, so you're winning. And this really brings me on to my other point about educating the buyer. Be the person that educates the buyer. It's not completely finished yet, actually, but I have worked with a lawyer. His profile's up, but this piece of rich content media, we're still working on it. But people are scared to spend money with a lawyer. They will be scared to spend £80 for half an hour to meet with him. They want to know they're going to get the most from their time. So we're preparing a work document they go through where they prepare their case and all the information, so they come equipped to that 30 minutes, so they know that they can get the most from it. And it's about preparing buyers. It's about helping them to do that. And also educating people on how to buy, when to buy, those different kind of things. For example, I'm about to release this piece of content actually. It was a talk I did to a language school, and being the person who I'm not the person, just get that right. These people, if you are the translator that translates from Spanish to English, and there's something different about the language, like if you couldn't take a profile I write and translate it to Spanish and have it translate in that country, because they write and approach things differently. So you actually need an expert for that country and the language and the dynamics to do it for you. If you don't know that and you're hiring someone to write in Spanish for you, and that Spanish writer doesn't say that, you might not know that they actually do that. And therefore, you're either going to buy something and not get what you need, or you're going to buy something, or that person's going to miss out because they didn't say it. So educating your buyer is to say, you need a different perspective. and the person that says it wins. Because I go back to the original person I met and say, oh, by the way, did you know that? And will you do that? Oh, yeah, I'll do that. You'd be like, yeah, do you know what? I don't believe you as much as the person who volunteered the information. So that's just a really quick overview, really, of just how much goes into building a good LinkedIn profile, the psychology that goes into it. And I really do say it's an art and a science.
It is, yeah. Talking about the summary again, there's one point I wanna clarify there, because I feel a lot of people think that the LinkedIn, like the summary, the profile, is like that one step. Like it's that only step they need to get from somebody they don't know and who don't know them to actually becoming a client or having a conversation, or actually, really to become a client. Like, what would you say is the purpose of the summary? Like, because, it could be many different things. It could be to send me an email. It could be to connect with me on LinkedIn. It could be to give me a call. It could be to buy something. I don't know, something like that. Like, what do you feel is the most effective way to think about the summary in terms of purpose?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the purpose is always to get, well, I say this crudely, but the purpose is always to get a sale, to get to that point where there is a sale. But it's to look at your sales funnel and understand where that happens. So a sales funnel will have different pricings for different products, all different stages. So if you are a consultant and your biggest package is £10,000, you can be pretty sure no one's going to come in from cold and spend £10,000 with you. They need to be warmed up. They need to engage with your content. They need to try some stuff out, and they need to know that you are the person that's going to solve that problem. So any good sales funnel will actually probably start off at a number of freebies, go to a beginning paid product that's maybe £29 to £49. Then you go up to your £200 to £300 product, and then you go up to your £1,000 one, and then your 5,000, and then up to your 10. If you know that's how clients need to journey, then you cater to that. So we're always looking at the easy first yes. The easy first yes is to get someone to watch a video, which you can put that on your LinkedIn profile. Fantastic. Have a call to action at the end. So the call to action at the end of the video would be, now sign up for this download or this paper or our mailing list. Keep in contact with us. Sign up to follow our company page. That's a brilliant one, because that puts you in control of the relationship then. So you're never going to hit them with a 10,000 product, and it's being really, really realistic at that. But knowing how that person journeys through the sales funnel to say, just come and engage with us here, just follow the company page, just take this, that walks them through. But at the same time, you do want to let people know that you have that full range of services. So the easy first yes for one of my clients that I interviewed this morning, hers is a £500 product. So a lot of freebies in the profile with an outline of the £500 product. But actually, if someone really, really wants to solve this problem right now, and they're so motivated and they so need it this moment, we're going to say it as well. We're going to say, if you are in this position and you really need this kind of help, this is what we do. So you want to kind of have it all there, but you also want to put 80% of the emphasis on that sales journey as to where that person's up to at that moment. And then a really good profile would be one that walks people straight through all the different content. Hey, you downloaded our article. Would you like to talk about it? Yes, I would. Let's book an appointment. Let's get on the phone. Let's talk about it. Do you want to buy it? Because that's your sales and your marketing. That's the holy grail I think everyone's going for. And as we said at the beginning of the call, quite a lot of people are missing that side of the end bit. We do all this stuff, but are we actually converting that into sales? And making that those touch points, which is very much where your side of things come into it, is someone's viewed your profile, they've asked to connect. Now what happens?
Exactly.
It's like taking someone's LinkedIn, their business card, and going, okay. And you just going, I'm just collecting it. Actually, we don't throw it away. We just collect it, and then we go, look how popular I am. Okay, great. I don't really care how popular you are.
It's interesting you say that. There's a lot of people I know who have thousands and thousands of LinkedIn connections, but they actually do very little business on LinkedIn. So to me, there's like a huge disconnect. Like, why is that? Like, do you have the wrong people in your network? And, very often people say, no, not really. But
yeah,
like they don't just reach out to me once they're connected. So that's really,
I think a really interesting one is that you've got people who are running campaigns. They're on the ground. They've got a sales team. They've done an event. They're now calling people up after the event. So they've got a sales process in place. And yet everything they're talking about and pushing out in their active stuff is not even on their LinkedIn profile. Like if you're running a workshop for something, female energy or something, I don't know, and it's a new message in the world and you're running a campaign, you've got a website for it, you've got tweets going out for it, you've got a freebie seminar that people come along to the freebie seminar and they listen to it. Why would you not have that reflected onto your LinkedIn profile? And it's not that we're going to throw only that one campaign through, but let's get some consistency and let's actually mention it, and then you can change it and put something else up later on. But it is really interesting how a lot of stuff goes on that's just not backed up on a profile whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah, that's it's just so important. Like you said before, be consistent. You gotta have some consistency in there. Also in the profile, not be all over the place. And then also when it comes to consistency, a lot of people, like when they connect to you, you want to have a process in place to engage them, because most people will not reach out to you or pick up the phone and give you a call just because your phone number is on the LinkedIn summary. That's just not what happens most of the time. That's a really big stepping stone. That's a really big first step. So a very small first step is, hey, click that connect button. But then what? A lot of people then struggle with that. Like what happens next? And that's like, whenever I work with a client, we always build a campaign. We always build a sequence that is essentially there for two purposes: to build trust and to build credibility. Because, as I said before, like most clients I work with, they're sort of in the 10,000 to 100,000 buying decision level, sometimes higher, sometimes around that. But that's like when somebody connects with you, they're not going to make a six-figure investment just because they're connected to you now. So there's got to be a way to build trust, and the higher the buying decision, the higher the trust needs to be. Trust is like the most important thing. It's like you said before, you can have your values listed on your profile, but you look at that and say, I don't trust you. I don't trust that video, right? There's no trust. So how do you build that trust? Well, there's lots and lots of different ways. Like there's a very, very specific sequence that I usually help my clients implement. It's a four-step sequence. Mm-hmm. And one of the most effective first messages. So when people connect to you, you always want to make sure that you have that notification set up that when they accept, that you get an email that says, hey, that person just accepted. So you want to know every single time somebody comes into your network, because then you can follow up. And in that first follow-up, one of the most effective things you can do is have some sort of a case study. The most effective way to do that, of course, would be like a video case study with a client you work with, who go through their journey from, the challenges they faced, how they made the transformation, and now how everything is awesome. That'd be like the best case scenario. But even if you don't have such a case study yet, you can simply do some research or interview the CEO, for example, of a company that has gone through that transformation with you or without you. Because the goal is not really to promote you and how awesome you are. The goal in it is, well, there's two really great things that this does. Let's try an example. Let's say you're a management consultant or a leadership coach working with the executive team to help create a better company culture. So in that example, you can have that case study from another company, from a client you work with, how they created that company culture. Now, what that does, if somebody, let's say a CEO of a company connects to you, now you don't know in that situation, if they haven't told you, if they build a better company culture right now, if they never thought about it, if they don't want to do that, you have no idea what kind of situation they're in usually. So the case study does something incredibly effective. It essentially gives people a lot of value, even if they're not in that situation, because it doesn't sell them anything. But because they're the CEO of the company, and like everybody wants a better company, everybody wants a better company culture. Maybe that's not a priority right now, but even if it isn't, if you send out that case study, they maybe start to think about creating a better company culture. So now you started the sales process, the cycle, essentially, by giving them the spark. So they think, oh, you know, maybe I can, if they can do that, maybe I can do that as well. Maybe I should also be thinking about that. And if they're in that process of actually creating a better company culture, there is so much value there in that case study, because now they can see how it's essentially a blueprint for them, how they could do it because the other company did it that way. So that's probably the most effective first message you can send out. Of course, you know, with the thanks for connecting, etc., but then you add that case study and say, you know, by the way, I just created that case study, you know, check it out here. And that's incredibly effective. And then the second message could be something like an article. You maybe publish some content. It could be your freebie or whatever. It could be something that is very relevant to what you're offering, to what you're creating, but it doesn't have to be 100% on topic. You know, it doesn't have to be the 7 steps to create a better company culture in this case. It could be, you know, it could be a why-driven article, like why every company culture should care about people first, or why every company should care about a people-first company culture. You know, something like that. It could be a why-driven article. And then the third piece could be something more practical, like maybe there's a tool out there. Maybe there's a tool that you created to help companies assess in 3 minutes how toxic or how thriving the company culture is. Yeah, by answering 7 questions. I don't know, something like that. And that's another really great tool for doing many different things, for making sure they know what you do, they know what you offer, and at the same time, giving them the opportunity to assess if they are in that situation, how they're doing. It sparks curiosity. Like, you know, people want to know that stuff.
People are only interested in themselves, yeah.
Say again?
People are only interested, like they love to do the psychology test, don't they? Because they love to learn about themselves.
Yeah, that's why we do these personality assessments and everything, right? I've done like 20 of them. So yeah, absolutely. People are curious about these things. And then the fourth message could be, I call it the invitation for a call. You know, it's super simple, because at that point, you don't have to be, you know, super smart about asking people for a call and trying to intrigue them into a call or anything, because along the way, you had 3 chances now to make an incredible impression. That's another thing people get wrong. They think they have only 1 chance to make an impression, but that's not true. Except if you screw up really badly in one of those messages and try to sell people and just do that, then of course you only have that 1 chance. But if you're just showing up genuine and authentic, then you have lots of chances to make lots of great impressions. So the fourth message could be something as simple like, you know, I'd love to get to know more about you and your plans and see if there's any way I can support you. How about we have a call next Thursday, 2 p.m. or Friday, 1 p.m. or something like that. Mm-hmm. And many people actually jump on that opportunity for a call, because all these things that need to be in place for them to jump on a call with you have been put in place through that sequence. So it's like the natural next consequence. And then in the call, you know, the purpose of the call doesn't have to be to sell them that, you know, $100,000 consulting package. You know, the purpose of the call should always be to provide value, to create value, to find out about what they're up to, what their goals are, what their challenges are. And in the conversations already helping them to get a mental image of how they could overcome that. And, you know, then at the end, you can simply ask, hey, you know, would you like me to help you with it?
Yeah, it's really consultative sales, isn't it?
Say again?
It's really consultative sales, isn't it? Where you're really helping scope out whether it's the right decision for them, and you're adding value in the fact that if it's not right for them, you're going to walk away because you want to serve them, give them the very best that you can. And if you're not the right person, then you'll walk away. And I think that when you come with that consultative approach of helping people make the right decision for them, and you're genuine about it, people respond.
Yeah.
And they're much more happy and they'll work with you over the long term. And even I've had people come back to me or refer me years later that I just served them in that session. I said, look, we can talk about how I help you if you want to, but we can talk about it at the end. Let's just deal with this question right now. Give them every piece of information I could, and then said, do you want to talk about how I can help? That's either gone into a sale or it hasn't. But the ones that haven't generally goes into a referral, because people see how you add value and what it is that you do. And that referral gives so much clout behind you, it's an easier sell. People just come in and go, well, yeah, I want it. I want it. Someone says you're great. I want it. And that's why we come at it as more consultative. Everything you're just saying, you know, adding value. How can you help?
Yeah. So by the way, if you guys have questions or anything, just type them in. You know, if you want to know anything, if you got something specific, any kind of issues you're struggling with that topic, just type them in. You know, type in /Q and then add the question so we can have them here.
Yeah, cool. I have a question for you, actually, Daniel. So you said, don't worry if you don't get a reply. If you send someone a message and you don't get a reply, how soon do you follow up the second message, knowing that they haven't replied to you? But they are connected to you at this point, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something people worry about. Like, you know, did I do something wrong if people don't respond? It's because of that fear of rejection. You know, because the no response, often people feel like rejected them. Well, the thing is, just to illustrate that in a story, because I love telling stories. In October, I think it was 2014, or it was actually beginning of the year 2014, I got introduced to an organizer of a TEDx event, and I always wanted to speak at TEDx. It's been on my vision board for a very long time. And he emailed me back and he said, you know, thanks for the intro, but right now we have all the speakers booked for this year, so let me put you on the list for next year. So that was like January 2014. They had the event in April, and then the next one will be April 2015. So I said, okay, great, no problem. So most people, what they would have done now is put that somewhere on a reminder list and say, reach out again in January 2015 and ask if they still have slots for speakers, right? But what I did was very different. I set up a campaign. You know, I put my own wisdom into action. So I set up a campaign, a trust-building campaign, that consisted of something incredibly simple, because a lot of people try to overcomplicate it, but I think it's so much work. So all I did was I grabbed a TEDx talk that I watched anyway, that really inspired me, and I sent out an email to that organizer every single month. Over that email, and I said, this is the talk I feel like you would also and I sent him that email for 8 months, every single month. And I never asked any kind of questions. I didn't have anything from so I just simply did that. And then he reached out to me and he said, hey, I'm on the way to Zurich. How do I get an echo?
Yeah, you're sounding difficult, actually. I'm not picking up everything you're saying.
Yeah, do you have yeah, there's an echo something. I don't know where it comes from.
I can't hear the echo. I can just hear you muffling.
Okay. That's weird.
Yeah.
Do you have headphones?
I don't have them, no. But I don't think it's coming from me, though, is it? I'll tell you what, you keep...
Okay, let's try that. Yeah, it works. Now it works. Okay, so I messaged that guy for 8 months, every single month, with a TEDx talk that inspired me, that I felt would also inspire him. And then after 8 months, he reached out to me pretty much out of the blue, because I wasn't expecting anything after 8 months. And he said, hey, I'm just on the way to Lugano through Zurich. You want to grab lunch? And I wasn't, in Zurich. I didn't see the email. So the next day I said, hey, didn't see your email. How about we have a Skype call next week? And then no response. He's a busy guy. So no response, nothing. For 3 months, I once again sent him these messages, built that trust. And 3 months later, it was somewhere, I think it was November or December of that year, he reached out to me and he said, hey, are you still interested in speaking at TEDx? And I said, yeah, of course. And, the interesting thing about that was that when he asked me if I want to be a speaker, we had never met in person. We had never even talked on the phone. He had never seen me speak before. And they had no idea what the topic will be of the TEDx event. But so during that time, during those 8 or 10 months, 10 or 11 months, I have built so much trust and so much credibility with him and so much relevance to, the topic of TED over that period of time, that it was a no-brainer for him to ask me. I was the first speaker they asked before they even had the theme. So they just wanted to get me on that list, which was absolutely amazing. And it just shows how powerful this is. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be super, super simple.
So do you think it's the power of consistency? Consistency in your message and what you stand for that made him have that much trust in you and go, yeah, it's you?
Well, there's a couple of things. All right, I got the echo again. Okay. So there's a couple of things. Well, one of them is consistency, for sure, yes, because I was showing up in his email inbox every single month, over and over again. And I was also relevant, very relevant with that, because he's probably pretty passionate about the whole TED topic because he's an organizer. So I shared something that is very relevant with him. And he was, he's always on the lookout for better speeches that they can feature somewhere and everything. So it was incredibly relevant. And then what I also did, I didn't intend that to do, but what also happened was that he made a connection between Daniel and TED, and Daniel and TED, and Daniel TEDx speaker, Daniel TEDx speaker. That's what I didn't realize that happened actually until, months after I did the speech. But that's what happened as well. He made that connection between those two things subconsciously. And I've built a lot of trust along the way. And I think there's quite a few of those triggers that happened there, yeah.
I'll unmute myself. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think a large part of it is, it is that consistency, and people it is an emotion, it's a feeling, isn't it, really? And the more you can be consistent with what you're putting out there and stand behind your message, that's the key thing, because you weren't saying, just to remind you, I still want to be on your list. I just still want to be on your list. You weren't doing it. You're being consistent about your topic. But the other thing is you were staying there in their minds. It reminds me of another story I heard of somebody who, I'm not sure how stringent people are with their lists anymore, who they will connect with, but this particular person didn't want to dilute his network because he did a lot of them using the advanced search function. And of course, with that, you see who you connected to that can give you an introduction. And he wanted that to be as prime as possible. So he would disconnect with people if he'd met them and then they had no interaction on LinkedIn whatsoever. He would disconnect. And he actually wrote back to somebody and said, just noticed that we met a year ago and we just said we were going to discuss this, but actually we haven't had that conversation. I'm wondering if there's any relevance in staying connected. If you want to have that conversation, then do let me know, because I'll be very happy to have it with you and support any way I can. But if not, why don't we disconnect and reconnect again when you're ready? The person got back to me within a few hours and says, no, please don't disconnect with me. I actually really do what you want. Thank you for reminding me. Can we talk next week? So, and that actually led on to the deal that they had originally talked about, but it was a whole year later. Yeah. So I think as well, we might think that there's no contact going on as well. Like we connect with someone and nothing happens. Little do we know that actually there's this constant ping pong going on, because we're seeing in the feeds, the LinkedIn feeds. So just an example of this, actually, this is evolving. When I set up the company a year ago, I posted up a personalized status update, which I find gets more interaction than most others. And I said something along the lines of, like, I was really happy with a new client's profile that had gone up, the profile company doing XYZ. And this guy liked it. Within a few hours, I had an invitation to connect from someone I didn't know. And I wrote back to them and said, hey, I see that you've asked to connect. I just wondered if there was a reason, what would it be about? Nicely put message. And he wrote back and said, well, actually, I was wondering if you would do some LinkedIn profiles for my company. I was like, yeah, sure. So within a week, I secured, it's a week of launching my company. I secured straight through LinkedIn a brand new contract. And I thought, well, who is he? Because we're not connected before. And I went and had a look, and there's one person that had as a mutual connection. And it was the power of that one person. That one person was someone I met for 1 hour. I had done a presentation to them about the LinkedIn training that we did. And we stayed connected. Probably a year had gone by. And I popped up that day. saying something. He thought, you know what, I like that. And the person came through as a new client. Now, it probably pretty much is a year to the day, actually. That guy has now got in touch with me again, because I wrote to him like maybe 6 months ago and says, oh, I'm starting up this thing and I want you to be part of it. I want to like retail your services for you and bring you business and blah, blah, blah. And literally, it was a 1 hour meeting 2 years ago now. But that contact's still there. So even though I thought I was off his radar and hadn't spoken to him in a long time, actually, he's still monitoring. He's still seeing what I'm doing. And there is an engagement going on behind the scenes that you don't know. So posting up posts and really, I think, keeping in touch with your social selling index, that'll tell you how well you're posting different things everywhere.
A lot of times, people think they have to keep in touch one-on-one, but there's so many incredible ways to keep in touch one-to-many. And, we're top of the hour. So, where can people go if they want to dive deeper into this? Where can people find more about you? Where can people, get some content from your side?
Yeah, sure. So my website address is TheProfile.Company. Oh, sorry, actually, TheProfile.Company. So it's a brand new URL. So you are writing that down correctly. It's TheProfile.Company. If you go on there and you want to know more about the subject, my book on there, What to Put on Your LinkedIn Profile, has a really good opening on the topic, and it actually will go through and detail what to put in each of the different sections of the LinkedIn profile. If you want to get a review of your profile with me directly, then do go and look on the website there as well, TheProfile.Company. I'm very happy to spend half an hour and give you a review on your profile. And then if you want to take that further and actually have me write it for you, then we can discuss that as well. The review is actually fully recorded so that you can go and do it yourself if you want to. The sun has moved and I now have a horrible shadow on my face. It's the logo on the window. So I just go like that. There we go. And now it says innovation on the window and it's just like on my face. All good. I'm glowing. I have Richard Branson behind me as well too, which is always inspiring. Oh my god, you put me off. Okay, so so you can go there, and I'm also putting out a lot of content as well now. Interviews such as this, putting this into little sound bites so that you don't have to listen to the whole thing. So a lot of content starting to come out for myself. Twitter is @TheProfile.Co. And then on LinkedIn, it's LinkedIn/IN/Naomi Johnson UK. It'd be lovely to connect with you and start a conversation. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, so I just released today. Actually, I just released a free video training on this entire topic of attracting the right tribe of your ideal clients into your world, into your network, and then building and engaging them so that you can build so much trust and credibility with them, so that they reach out to you to have a call, meeting, conversation, whatever that's going to be. So you can check that out at linkedrevolution.com, and it gets you to the right side where you can sign up for that free video training. And the next video will be released next Monday, and then the third one will be released next Thursday. So you can check that out at linkedrevolution.com, and you can also find me at jordico.com. That's JORDICO.com.
Cool.
Good. That was great. Thank you so much.
I feel like we covered a lot of topics today.
Yeah, we have. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. It's good talking to you, Naomi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. I hope everyone enjoyed, and we'll see you on the other side. Be good to connect.
Yeah. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.